She was 22 years old, newly married, the kind of beauty people noticed instantly. She didn't pull the trigger herself. She found someone younger, someone more impressionable, someone who would do it for her. And she almost got away with it. Derry, New Hampshire, 1990. A small, tight-knit town where everybody knows everybody. Where a face everybody recognizes is also a face everybody watches. Pamela Smart had taken a job as a school media coordinator. She was supposed to be a mentor. What she became instead changed the town forever. There are people who commit crimes out of passion, out of rage, out of the moment that overtakes their better judgment before they can pull themselves back. And then there are people who seduce someone else into doing it for them, who find a person at their most vulnerable, young, desperate to be chosen. The cruelest manipulation isn't the kind that leaves bruises. It's the kind that leaves a teenager believing he acted out of love. But sooner or later, karma collects. I'm Justin Luther, and these are the Karma Case Files. Pamela married Greg Smart in May of 1989. She was 22, he was 24. They were a young couple at the beginning of something, newly married, building a life, figuring out who they were going to be together. Greg worked in insurance. He was described by people who knew him as easygoing, warm, genuinely in love with his wife. Pamela was ambitious. She had studied media at Florida State University. She wanted to be on television, to be seen, to be someone that people paid attention to. She had landed a role coordinating media and student programs at a high school in Hampton, New Hampshire, a position that put her in daily contact with teenagers who looked up to her. That proximity would become the centerpiece of everything that followed. By late 1989, by her own later admissions, Pamela was unhappy in the marriage. She spoke of feeling trapped, of wanting out. But here's where the story takes a turn that separates it from an ordinary divorce. Pamela didn't simply want to leave Greg. According to prosecutors, she was concerned about what leaving would cost her, financially and socially. She had a prenuptial agreement that she believed would leave her with very little if she filed for divorce. So she began thinking about a different kind of exit. And she began looking at teenagers around her for the person who would help her find it. Billy Flynn was 15 years old when he met Pamela Smart. He was a student, and according to the evidence presented at trial, Pamela initiated a romantic relationship with him, strategically, with full knowledge of exactly what she was doing. She was his world. She made sure of that. She controlled the relationship, and she understood that a teenage boy like Billy would do almost anything to keep her. And then she told him what she needed. According to Billy's later testimony and the evidence presented at trial, Pamela told him that she needed Greg to die, that she couldn't leave, that the prenuptial agreement would leave her with nothing, that Greg would get the dog, the furniture, the life they had built. She framed it, prosecutors argued, as a matter of survival, of love. She told Billy that if Greg were alive, they could never be together, that removing him was the only path forward. She didn't hand him a weapon, she handed him a reason. On the night of May 1st, 1990, Pamela Smart made sure she was not home. She took a student to a school board meeting, a visible, documented alibi, someone who could confirm exactly where she was when it happened. While she sat in the meeting, Billy Flynn and two accomplices, Patrick and Vance, entered the Smart home. They had a key. Pamela had provided it. Greg Smart came home to find them waiting. Billy Flynn shot him once in the head. When Pamela returned home that night, she called 911. She told investigators she had come home to find her husband dead. She wept. She performed the role of a devastated widow the same way she played every other part in this story, like it was second nature. For a moment, it seemed like it might hold. The plan began to fall apart, not through forensic evidence, but through the simple, inevitable reality that three teenage boys and at least one of their girlfriends knew what had happened. Cecilia was a student of Pamela's who had been drawn into the orbit of this plan. She knew enough, and eventually she went to the police. Investigators approached her, and what followed was a recorded sting operation. Cecilia wore a wire and met with Pamela, drawing her into conversations that were captured on tape. Conversations in which Pamela discussed the murder, her role in orchestrating it, and her ongoing efforts to keep the story together. The recorded word became the undoing. I want to sit with this for a moment. Greg Smart was 24 years old. He had a whole life ahead of him. He came home one night and found 3 teenagers waiting in his living room, sent there by a woman he loved. The woman who decided he was an obstacle instead of a husband. And Billy Flynn was 15, a 15-year-old boy under the influence of an adult woman in a position of authority who groomed him and led him toward murder. And it leaves a question that doesn't sit easy in cases like this. How much responsibility do we place on someone who knows right from wrong, but is still a child? Billy, Patrick, and Vance were arrested, along with the fourth accomplice, Raymond, revealed later. They didn't stay loyal for long. They all cut deals and turned on Pamela. Billy took the stand and described in detail the relationship Pamela had cultivated with him, the manipulation, the pressure, the way she constructed a reality for him in which killing her husband was an act of love rather than an act of murder. He was 15 when she started. He was 16 when he pulled the trigger. The trial of Pamela Smart was a sensation, one of the first murder trials to be televised in the United States. The prosecution painted a precise portrait of premeditation, the recorded conversations, the testimony of the boys, the keys she had provided, the alibi she had constructed, the prenuptial agreement that had made divorce feel impossible. The defense argued that Billy and the others were lying, that they were shifting blame to reduce their own sentences, that Pamela was being made a scapegoat by teenagers trying to save themselves. The jury deliberated for less than 13 hours. Pamela Smart was convicted of first-degree murder as an accomplice. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Billy Flynn walked into the house and pulled the trigger. He took a plea deal, life with the possibility of parole. After 24 years, Billy Flynn was released from prison in 2015. Patrick Randall helped plan it. He took a plea deal, life with the possibility of parole. After 24 years, Patrick Randall was released from prison in 2015. Vance Lattime drove the car. He took a plea deal, 30 years to life in prison. After 14 years, Vance Lattime was released from prison in 2005. Raymond Fowler helped after the fact. He took a plea deal, up to 30 years in prison. After 12 years, Raymond Fowler was released from prison in 2003. This is Karma Case File number 2. A woman who wanted a different life and found someone willing to go get it for her. She built the alibi, stayed in public, and waited. Then she came home and played the part. But someone talked, and the cameras she chased became the ones that watched her fall. In a courtroom, where it all caught up to her. I'm Justin Luther, and these are the Karma Case Files. Have a case you want featured? Send it in. Follow for more real stories where actions have consequences. Until next case.